But it's also very Orwellian. There's this incapacity to talk to each other.
Yeah.
About what's happened.
Well, you see,
it then changes their lives.
But it is. But you see, when people sort of say, talk about his emotion, that he doesn't have, seemed to have overwhelming grief when his father dies, his mother dies. If you look, and I put in the index a list of all the people of his friends who died in his life, relatives and friends, and there are quite a large number of them. Dan Reuter died, the head of the school. Bobby Longdon, the headmaster at Shrewsbury School, was killed by a bomb. There were all these people around him who died. His wife Eileen dies, and people say, was he upset? You weren't upset then. And I think one of the reasons is, one of the, I think to me, very telling books of that period was Galsworthy's last three books. Also very easy to look down on, but if you look at his last three books, the end of the chapter, the group's called the end of the chapter, and you see what happened to those people because of the Great War. And their emotions were stunted. Never mind the stiff upper lip and all that sort of thing. Compared to the gross horrors of that, somebody dying a natural death was almost nothing. I think. I mean, I think it happened very commonly in the 1930s. I mean, I was obviously only a child then, but I can see it in my own family, exactly the same sort of thing. And Orwell, I think, felt those things far more deeply than he gives vent to on the page. Yeah. And we look at these things where everybody emotes all over the place. He just wouldn't have understood that.
No.
So
that's really
this, I think,
remarkable. And there are these amazing
the pictures.
Photographs.
Yes. It's amazing what the body language tells you, and it's a sudden whitewashy street photograph. It's amazing that the street photograph.
But how did you get the street?
Well, I didn't get it. Still on Venables. I had the photograph. But when she was the executor for Jacinta, when Jacinta died, she took all of the stuff, and she had 55 packing cases of papers. They never threw anything away, and they all went through all of them.
And how was she able to fix that?
Burnt.
It was the date. It was burnt.
It would have been burnt. So she hadn't. And she didn't find any letters from Orwell in Burma that he'd written to Jacinta. There was nothing like that. So she didn't throw anything. But it was. They were one of those families that simply kept everything. And
so it was Dion that managed to date this photograph.
It's Dion has got it.
And because otherwise you had to know the date to know
well,
the meaning of that
the date
photograph.
from when the baby was adopted.
Yeah.
Which I think is 1927.
Yeah.
And of course he comes back. You see, it is quite remarkable. I mean, it's people understandably don't perhaps think they know about Richard being adopted. They don't realise that he also wanted to adopt a little girl. It's only mentioned in 3 words or so in one of Eileen's letters when she's writing to him just before she dies under the anaesthetic, and she says something about will Richard have a little sister or something. So it was quite clear they wanted to adopt a little sister. I'm sure he would have adopted that baby.
Yes. Yes.
So it is. Well, I think very moving and very sad, etc. He very much hoped that she would visit him, but of course she didn't. I'm not so sure that Jacinta always thought that all the female characters were her. I think that's exaggerating it a bit, because there were various others who I think were partly there. I mean, the one who I think is much attention is paid to Eleanor Jakes, and we believe there are more letters he wrote to her. And it obviously had an ongoing non-affair with Brenda Salkeld, the clergyman's daughter, all over the years. She was very good. She would go and see him, and she's in hospital. She went up to Barn Hill to see him. But the one I think who we tend to forget is Anne Popham, who he did propose to, and well, he proposed to various people, but he was very keen, and those letters are included in the edition. They've been published before, but where he writes 2 long letters to her, where he talks about being desperate to have a wife and so forth. And it wasn't the sexual relationship so much, but simply he wanted the company someone to talk to and that sort of thing, someone to share their interests. And he'd asked Anne Popham on those, and they're two really, those are two moving letters, I think. He opens his heart very much more than he does almost anywhere else in the two letters to Anne Popham much later in life.